I've lived in Japan for over 6 years. I went to school here, I learned the language, and here are some things that I really wish someone had told me in my earlier days. Before coming to Japan, I thought working hard alone would be enough, but I was wrong, and it took me years to figure out why. I'm originally from a small country in West Africa called Liberia, and over 5 years ago, I came to Japan along with my family. But before I came to Japan, I thought this was a developed country, it was an advanced country, so I thought integrating into this society was going to be easy for me. I thought building a life here was going to be relatively easy. But after I came to Japan and spent a little bit of time in Japan, I quickly realized that that was not the case at this specific time. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about some of those reasons and the things I went through in the early stages of me here in Japan. Number one, I think it's integration. I think integration is one of the most important things when it comes to being part of a society. With that being said, where I'm from in Liberia is quite social. People are more social, people are more invested into the daily lives of people. People know each other, people talk to each other regularly on a daily basis. However, Japan is quite the opposite, or that's what I saw. Over here, people don't really socialize with their neighbors, people mind their business, people aren't invested in the lives of other people. It doesn't work here like a community. And this difference for me was very hard. That difference really made life difficult for me in the beginning, not because people were unfriendly, but because everything felt different. I felt disconnected with people. This was unusual for me. This wasn't what I was used to, and it really made my life quite more difficult than it was in Liberia. One thing that took years for me to feel normal is communication. If you are intending to move to Japan, or if you want to stay in Japan for a long while, or even work in Japan, you have to learn the language. Over here, people don't speak English, so you have to learn how to communicate with people in the language that is here, which is Japanese. So my advice to you is, if you are intending on staying here longer than 6 months to a year, I advise that you learn Japanese to the best of your ability, because Japanese will open doors for you. It will create an environment where you can interact with people and new opportunities will come your way. Also, there is a huge emphasis in Japan on written rules, on indirect communication. You have to understand what is being implied and not what is being said. I know that's a little bit confusing for some people, but in Japan, people are not really direct in the way they communicate. People say something and they are implying the next. And this took a really long time for me to figure out how it works, how to understand what is being implied and not just what is being said. This is really important, and it really gave me a hard time in the beginning of my stay in Japan to kind of understand this aspect of the society over here. So one of the things on today's list is being a foreigner in Japan. Like, I've seen a lot of different videos about it, and there are a lot of big creators who are talking about what it feels like to be a foreigner living or working in Japan. So I'm just going to give my own experience here, and we see how you guys take it. So as far as my experience in Japan as a foreigner or a black person or a young black man, it really has not been negative. My experience in Japan has more so been curious. Like, for example, I went to university in a prefecture that is really far away from Tokyo. There are not a lot of foreigners in that particular city, and on top of that, there are really not a lot of black people in that community. So I was like one of the few black people you see in that city. So whenever people saw me, they were quite curious. Some people asked me like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" I'm studying, and people were quite like curious as to why I chose to study in Japan, and not just Japan, this particular city, because it's not like international city, and most of the people here are locals. So people were just curious as to why I was here, what I was doing, what I was studying, what I think about the place. And I think in most cases, that's going to be the reaction you get over here in Japan as a foreigner. I'm not saying negative reaction isn't over here in Japan. I'm just saying that most of the reaction you get is going to be out of curiosity and out of people just wanting to interact with people from different cultures and different countries. However, there are some instances where you are going to get a negative reaction from local Japanese people, and that's not just due to people own bad habit. It's also due to the fact that recently in Japan there has been many incidents where foreigners kind of disrespected the local laws. You have foreigners disrespecting the local people, and wherever you go, when things like this start to happen, you tend to find the locals kind of pushing back on foreigners and people they find different than themselves. So in cases where you find negative reaction from people, it's mostly people who have been through these instances, and their this is just their reaction now to things that they probably think. So, but mostly I say the reaction is going to vary, and most of the reaction you get from people is not going to be negative, but curious. Let's get into one of the most important part of this video. I know that I have said this like for every single segment. I've said this is one of the most important, but I think all of the things that are listed today in this video is kind of like the most important aspect of things that people from abroad have to know about life in Japan. When you hear about work culture, some people have heard that Japanese has or Japan has a very difficult work culture. It's difficult for the local, and it's even more difficult for foreigners. So as a foreigner, what has been my experience? What do I wish to tell you guys that I brought about the work culture in Japan? So I recently told you guys that I went to university in a city that is in Tokyo, and the work culture that I noticed over there is really different. And speaking of the work culture, I must tell you guys that I haven't been a full-time worker yet. I've only been a part-time worker, so I'm gonna speak on my experience as a part-time worker and give you guys a little bit of a look into what a full-time work experience look like in Japan from a foreigner point of view. So as a part-time worker, the work culture is really different. It's really easy. It's not easy. You have to be punctual. For someone coming from an African background, it's like punctuality is not taught to us. So you have to be on time. You have to arrive on time. You have to do what you have to do. But it's relatively calm, the work culture as a part-time worker. Currently, I work at Honolulu Coffee. It's an international coffee company over here in Japan. So I get to interact with a lot of foreigners, a lot of people, and it's quite ease. The atmosphere is quite at ease over this at this company, which is a part-time work that I'm doing. But also I was opportune to do an internship at an engineering company over here in Tokyo, and my experience at this company was not difficult. And I must say this, it's probably because I was an intern, but at this engineering company, I interned at the international department. This was the department that handled the projects they have overseas. Their workers overseas, they were doing communication with companies. They are involved in operations and collaboration with JICA in African countries. So this was a really interesting experience for me as an African myself, working in this space with a company that has a huge portfolio of working on various projects in Africa. And I might have not said, but this company specializes in construction engineering and also making plans for engineering projects like engineering consultancies. And it's really important that I say this because I was working within the bureau that handled like the consulting part of this company. And this was a really good experience for me. I would say it wasn't difficult. They gave me help whenever I needed help. And at the end of this internship, I did a presentation about a project in my home country, Liberia, that I think that the company should recommend to the government. I don't know if it's going to be recommended, but this was a task that I had to complete at the end of my internship. And I was really nervous. It was my first time standing up in front of top tier engineers and giving my opinions and different things about the project that I think should be recommended to my government. But it was a really good experience for me. So with that being said, that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you guys. I'm really excited. I'm also nervous talking to you guys about my own experience in Japan. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave it below in the comment section. Whatever you want to know about Japan from my perspective, and if you're also interested in my journey as a foreigner seeking to excel in my career in Japan, if you're also interested in knowing more about that, I would like you to subscribe and like this video, share it. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.